Hi, everyone. Welcome. I want to welcome all of our viewers today to the Refugee Matters series. Last week, we highlighted the experiences of LGBTQ refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants. Today, we will be focusing on unaccompanied children. We will be able to hear their stories, learn how to uplift them, and even learn how to be better advocates and work with our community members. As a reminder, I would like to tell everyone to please turn on your notifications every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. Eastern time. We will be highlighting community members until the World Refugee Day. Before we get started, I would like to remind folks that the Opportunity for All is a vibrant national campaign designed to shift social, political, and economic conditions so that refugees can achieve their full potential. And that's the purpose of this series. And one of our goals would be to build up this series is to build the infrastructure for refugees, refugee power, and for them to be able to achieve concrete organizing. And as I mentioned, please stay tuned as we will be showcasing Black refugees and stateless people in the upcoming lives. Okay, and as I mentioned, we will be focusing on unaccompanied children. And I'll just give you a quick overview of what unaccompanied children are. So these are children that come to the border. These are children that come to the border without a parent or a legal guardian, without any legal status, and they are under the age of 18. These children are placed in shelters. And at that point, there's an attempt to reunify them with family members, or at some point place them with sponsors. And so these are children that are often referred as UCs or UACs. These are children that oftentimes they have suffered a lot of hardship in their country. And, coming to a new country, there's much more hardship. And we have a lot of these UC children in the immigration system without being able to access universal representation. And so that increases, their hardship even more from anything that they have suffered in their home country. And I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Yolanda Martin. I am an immigration attorney with the organization CHIRLA out of the Los Angeles area. And in my work, I represent people in immigration court and people out of immigration court proceedings, but that are attempting to obtain legal status. And in all that, we represent unaccompanied children. And it's very tough to see what they go through and the way that they have to manage in this system, and it's very difficult for them. I would like to welcome all of our speakers and say that we're very grateful to have you here and be able to hear your stories and highlight them. Okay, and just to get started, I would like to briefly introduce our speakers. First, we have Edwin Rigoberto Hernández-Ventura. He's a Refugee Congress delegate from the state of Michigan. And we also have Jessi Calzado-Esponda. She's a Refugee Congress delegate from the DC area. And again, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to ask you to please briefly introduce yourselves and tell us who you are, why you're here, and what do you do? I'm very interested.
Hello, hi guys. My name is Jessi Calzado-Esponda. I'm originally from Cuba. Before becoming a delegate, I essentially worked in Congress for about 8 years of my life with Congress, and I enjoyed every moment of it. After Congress, I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and so I not only opened one business, but opened two. So currently, I operate two businesses. Number one, taking celebrities, members of Congress, congressional staffers to Cuba. And then also working with the nonprofit sector and dealing with fundraising for some of the biggest nonprofits in the United States and globally. I'm super excited to be here today. I myself am not only a refugee, but an unaccompanied minor. And so that's part of my story, and I'm super excited to share with you guys. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Hello, my name is Edwin. I am a a delegate representative for the state of Michigan. I am currently a student going to Lansing Community College, hoping and strongly believing that I will go to MSU, and that's what I'm planning to get my master's in social work. Yes, I am an unaccompanied minor who came to the States at the age of 13, and I can say that my experience has been very, very per se interesting, but we are here to help. And one of the main goals for me for being in this program, which is Refugee Congress, is to educate, tell my story to many people I can, and of course share my experience with those who don't know, or they don't they can like find it out what is this actually means for them. So that's my strongest things to do in this organization.
Thank you both of you. And I would say the information for about unaccompanied children and for unaccompanied children, it's still pretty limited, and the topic of unaccompanied children has become more prevalent in the recent years, as we have many children and many children fleeing their countries because of the terrible conditions, and we have come to hear of all the conditions when they're being held by immigration as well. So I'm very grateful to have you both here to highlight what you've gone through and the work that you're doing now, and how we can move forward from here to be a support for these unaccompanied children. So I thank you so much, and I'll start ahead and I'll go with the first question, and it'll go to Edwin. Edwin, would you be able to share your story regarding your experience as an unaccompanied minor?
Yeah, definitely. Many of these stories varies according to the person. Personally, my household was the main reason why this made me to come to the States, seeking for my father's help. But I find out when I came here to the States, he turned his back, and so the process came twice as difficult as it usually goes for other ones. So as that's some of the main reasons why this type of cases have to be split and take as very like as how they come. They cannot be categorized as this section or that section because they all vary. Mine was that case, and so being that in that situation in my household in Honduras, I chose to come seek for my father in the country of the United States, but it didn't work as planned.
And what about you, Jessi?
Okay, guys. So my story is very similar to Edwin. Essentially, well, a little bit different. Essentially, I came on a raft by accident. When I was 7 years old, I was saying goodbye to a family member who was going to come to America in a form of a raft. And one thing led to another. I was very close to the raft. This was in 1994 in Cuba, where a lot of Cubans were literally risking their lives to the open sea, trying to get to America before essentially, instead of like staying in Cuba in a very economically collapsed country where they didn't have food, when they didn't see an option, and it was just very like do or die. And so we went to say goodbye to my aunt, and the plan was for me to come home with my grandmother back to my house, just saying hello, goodbye, as one does when a person's trying to escape the country, right? The problem happened was that while I was in the beach, while we were there, someone walked alongside of us. We didn't know from far away it was a cop or a civilian, and they weren't sticking around to find out. So I was accidentally placed on a raft that was coming to America. So I became an unaccompanied minor by no one's choice, literally by accident. But I had to deal with all the circumstances and all the reality of being an unaccompanied minor, not only being in a refugee camp, which I lived in Guantanamo Bay, but also going through that process of like getting booked, getting interrogated, coming to America, learning a new language, all without the foundation that the family provided, right? And so the journey itself is a journey, it's some ups, some downs, but I'm really grateful that along everything that's happened, I've been able to make it thus far, and I'm super excited to not only share my story, but actually share the realities of what it's like, right? A lot of media organizations helped me along the way, and I'm just super, super compelled to really explain the human nature of what it's like to be an unaccompanied minor and what it's like to do it from the other side, because there's a lot of people talking about what it is, but I know it firsthand what it felt like, and I'm excited to share that feeling and share that reality through a 7-year-old's perspective.
And I can honestly say that, working as I work with unaccompanied children, it's a lot of them are very, very young. And so, seeing both of you at this point in your life, it's really great. It's a really good feeling to see both of you and have you both are now advocating for the people that you were in that same position back in those times. So it's a great experience to be here with both of you. And as another question, so in the news, there's recently been reports of the unsafe conditions that unaccompanied minors are being kept in. Do you have any perspective on this topic that you would be willing to share?
I will personally say that when I first came to the United States, was I will put it like the media is trying to more take this topic as like excuse me, like that and not ending novel. They're just trying to portray like the catching attention and not actually basing themselves more in the rational feeling of helping them, but like taking it more into the political attachment to attack one to another. And at the end, I feel that the helping of the children that we see, like countless like self journalists or people who actually go to a border and portray those type of things I see right now, they don't take it as like that meaning of like helping them, but like targeting like the administrations that are currently while that situation is happening. Interesting to say, I came to the United States in back in the 2000s, 15-ish era. So my biggest point here is that when I came here, a lot of the things were bad, like the way the immigration handled children's and how they like treat you and all that is like sometimes I don't know. But if they are saying that thing haven't changed since then when I was there, then we have a problem, because since 6-7 years I want something to change for them, because I can say my experience while my case was determined or what was going to happen with me ended up taking over to a year, and I was in those installations that were helping for that long. So personally, is the most important, is to make them feel like that something's going to happen for that children. The media is just more like, oh yeah, they have this in cages, but besides being in the cages, it's more like, what is going to happen for me later? There's no one to turn to. Nobody who will be like actually sitting with you and say, okay, listen, this is going to happen to you, and this and that we're going to do, and we'll hope for the best. No, like you pass like countless times just like looking out the window and just looking out and be like, oh, another day. And that's the fear that I personally had, and I don't want them to experience, because I never ever experienced the feeling before of missing the time or have no sense of time anymore, and be in those places, have you been in that position. So it sounds more like Hollywood type of era or type of comment that I'm saying right now. When you see movies like they get lost in the island and then you're in the middle of nowhere, it is like that. You just wake up and go to sleep, and you're like, oh, it's already this time, but not in the good sense, because you're like, oh, another day wasted. And I don't want them to have that. And media doesn't really portray that. They just take it more like Biden, Trump, or this or that. No, children's. That's the matter for me.
So what I hear from you is that, there could be more of a humanizing of these children and having a sense of, helping them rather than making more of a political stance, right?
Correct.
To be there for the children, for what they need. Is there any, Edwin, is there any other thing that that you were able to speak to, or that you saw conditions when you were detained as an unaccompanied child that you think could possibly be issues still, or that you think that people should pay attention to?
Transportation. One example, transportation. I crossed Eagle Pass. That's the border. I crossed there. When I was crossing, me and other people was behind me. I wasn't let them going to drown. I literally was having a guy in the middle of the river that I grabbed, who it was a child, probably between 13 or younger. He had seizures. He started having one in the middle of the river. So my instinct is that I grab him, put him on my shoulder, and put him on the other side. Migration comes like 3 minutes later. They thought I was the coyote. And I was like, he was going to die. Do you want me to let him and take the river, take him? I know how to swim. I have rescued people before that they were about to drown. I wasn't him going to happen. Why he was targeting me that I was the coyote? Easy. I helped him. And because I was wearing expensive shoes. Okay. When I got there, when they start taking or information and everything, they put us in, like, imagine a pickup, like the green and white ones from Homeland Security. They put us back in one of those. Me and other 6 people. We were laying down in that thing, who knows for how many hours, just bonging around. We got to the facilities, like a Homeland Security facility or military, who knows what. First thing they did is, with a very sharp knife or something, they cut our shoe strips and they cut shirts and everything. The only thing was with you was your underwear. And they were like, they took us inside to this building, and they're called like hieleras, which is like the very cold places. And they start like asking us questions like, who you are, where are you going, who you have here. And there's nobody who speaks your language. So they just make you point to a paper, you point whatever language you speak. They have a variety of them, and they just start asking you questions and more questions, and more people start asking you things. And they threw you for this to these rooms where you start losing the sense of time for hours, and they just pick you up and take you back. And then they put me back again into a bus. Then later on, I find out that it was like a county jail bus with criminals. The who knows, my crime was at that point jump the border. And so they were all there. They put me the things on my hands and ankles and all that, tied up with other people. And yeah, they took me, I think 4 a.m. the morning. It was 10 p.m. in the afternoon, and I was still inside the bus. No food, no water, no anything. I mean, I was older. I was older, like 13 years old, so I consider myself a little bit mature. At 4 years old,
But
5 years.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
That was very traumatizing. And Jessi, are there any? Do you have any perspective in the topic of the conditions that these children are in?
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely agree with Edwin. I think that being an unaccompanied minor is already traumatizing enough, right? Like, let's set up the scene, right? Imagine waking up in the middle of the night in a foreign land without understanding the language, not knowing what's going on, not understanding like where you're at. You're 7 years old. you don't understand politics. You don't understand cages. You don't understand, like, why is it so cold? The only thing you want is mommy and daddy, right? But you don't have that, right? And that's the part that gets me, right? Like I said, I worked in Congress for many, many years, and I understand that politics affect our everyday life. But when it comes to children, and when it comes to me as a human, and when me as I was 7, I didn't care about politicians, nor did I care about how I was going to be like displayed on TV, nor did I care about like the grown-ups fighting. I care about mommy and daddy, right? And that's the part that people need to understand. Like, we have to humanize these children, and we need to stop looking at children like a problem and start labeling them as what they are, right? And what they are in any community, it's a child. You know, they're your next door neighbors. You know, there was you when you were 7. You know, that it's everything. And imagine having to go through those conditions, right? So for me personally, like I said, I lived in a refugee camp, right? And I lived in an era that was a little bit different. You know, I lived in an era that when I was rescued by the Coast Guard, I wasn't put in a cage. You know, I wasn't separated from adults that I had. I wasn't asked to sleep on the floor. I wasn't enclosed with other 10 children. I cannot imagine what that feels like right now. Because to me, I was treated correctly. I was like, of course it was crazy and scary, but like someone like me, like if I'm so traumatized, I can't imagine what these children will go through when they're 12, when they're 13, when they're 14, when they're 15. Understand, we're building adults here, right? And I think that every human has the responsibility to take care of their youth. And every woman and man has a responsibility of do right by children, right? And so that's kind of like the one thing that I like to say, because when I lived in Guantanamo Bay, it was a different era. Like, I remember my first words in English was to the soldiers, Mister, give me candy, right? And the soldiers treated me with respect, and they treated me with kindness, and they treated me with, dare I say, love. You know, and like the mornings and the nights when I did wake up crying for mommy and daddy, there was always someone there to at least check in on me, right? And like, I don't understand how we've come into society and gone so far away from that messaging. And when we come into a society and feel like it's okay, or why are we even debating like whether or not a child should be put in a cage? Like, I have a problem with that. And I feel like more people need to rally with and support children, support undocumented, like unaccompanied minors, because they need all your support, guys. Right? They're children, you know, and that's what really gets me, and that breaks my heart so much, guys. Like, you have no idea. These kids and these people, and you know, they're gonna turn into hurting adults, and the journey itself without a parent is hard. You know, like you already miss all the big stuff, right? You miss the first mommy and daddy dance, you know, or father and daddy dance. Yeah, you miss the your mom braiding your hair. You miss that motherly advice. You miss I think America and all of us who are Americans know that it's such a tough place to be in, right? We're the best country in the world, but making it in America without the foundation that a family provides, it is tough. And it doesn't matter if you're white, if you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Latino, if you're Indian, it doesn't matter, right? America is such a hard place to live, right? Well, imagine trying to go through life without the foundation a family provides, with a new culture, new language, and then on top of that, with all the traumatizing these poor children, right? And so, like, I don't know, I think that's the part that I want people to consider, and that's the part that when you guys see children being displayed on TV, when you guys see those stories, I want you guys to stop for 2 seconds and kind of realize that yes, politics matter, but children matter more. You know, like, it's important to understand, like, besides anything here, you know, like, we care about the children. We care about their well-being. We need to understand that we all need to become advocates for them. And it doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what the back-end story is. It doesn't matter, like, if they should be here or not. They are children. Does that make sense?
It definitely does. It definitely does. And working with unaccompanied children that have gone through that process, it's hard to see the effect that it has on them. And so, for as a follow-up question, Edwin, were there any like people or organizations that helped you navigate life as an unaccompanied minor here in the U.S.?
Oh yeah, definitely. I can proudly say that after I arrived to Michigan, the place I call home now, I this company called Samaritas sponsor me, and I can say they oh my god, they done amazing things for me. The later on when everything was finding it out, they representate me for all the stuff I went to school. I went to a non-diverse high school, which was a very funny experience. That's when my part of it is like to educate the people. A lot of people don't know. They just a little coming back again for the last question you say. They just believe or hear everything they see from the news. So me going to a high school where my class was only six people were like color, and then the other 700 and something first 100 were white people. They all were shocked. So when I started going to the school by Samaritas, and they were teaching me the language and all that, was an amazing, incredible experience. They teach me how to do my taxes, how to do stuff, how to apply for college, how to do this stuff, and at the end, has for my story has a happy ending, but in the first steps of it are my biggest complications that I have more concerns about. But yeah, I can proudly say that caseworkers also were amazing. I personally had a caseworker that I see him like that figure who helped me carry on a lot. And he left the program when I was still in it. And he told me, one day I'm going to see you. One day I will see you again. And sure enough, when I graduated from high school, went to college, he's my professor currently right now teaching me one of my classes. And that own experience when I applied for it, because I didn't know the professor. And then when I saw the class, it was like, hi, Edwin, you remember me? I was like, oh my God.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The effect that, caseworkers or people that, their dedication to the children, it comes through. What about you, Jessi? Were there any organizations that helped you?
Yes, for sure. Okay, so I consider myself a child of the community because that's who raised me. Right? I had amazing humans, not necessarily charities, but like amazing humans who took it upon themselves to bring under their wings, to teach me English, to teach me the significance of like music. Like I had a mentor actually. Her name was Jennifer, and Jennifer every Wednesday would bring me to Barnes and Noble, and we would read a book, right? But then from that book, it became, well, now that we're reading books, let's get you understanding what the Brady Bunch is, right? Let's get you understanding like what I don't know what Michael Jackson is. Like, and it was, they kind of like infused me into the community, made me feel welcome, because so much of who we are as Americans comes from our culture and the foods we eat and the music we listen to and the TV programs that we watch. And so like, it kind of helped me feel like part of something. And they were the ones who were driving me to school. I ended up getting a scholarship for music. I'm a trained opera singer. And so I've traveled to like Europe, I've traveled to Italy, I lived in Italy for a little bit singing, but it came down for someone in the community noticing that I needed help. And I got a scholarship from the age of 11 in a program called Florida Gulf Coast Youth Choir. A teacher noticed that I had an ability to sing music, to play instruments. She got me into a scholarship. Found some amazing humans in the community that paid for it. Later on, that led to me going into a magnet school of the arts, where I majored in voice and dance. And from there, it kind of like went on and went on and went on, to meeting some, like, for example, city councilwoman in Florida. She ended up meeting me through a program that I was doing exhibits in a museum, and then she decided to take me under her wing. And then from her, I met Kathy Castor, and then from Kathy Castor, now I'm in Congress, right? And so that's it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Like I think there's no better power than the community and the power of people to make something amazing. And so that was what I was excited for, and the community raised me. So yeah.
And I would just add that there are several nonprofit organizations that provide legal representation to unaccompanied children. And that's very important as well. For the beginning, and then it develops to the support that you both had in your community as well. And one other question. If each one of you could tell me, in what ways can people get involved on a topic of unaccompanied children or be active in this situation?
I got this one. Okay. First and foremost, guys, honestly, try to connect with nonprofits that represent children. For me, again, I worked in Congress, so of course, like, reach out to your Congress people, right? Like, make a little bit stink, right? Go out there and say, hey, like, we want you to support children's rights, and we want you to help these children, and we want you to make a difference, and we want you to fulfill the promise that you're gonna be representing all of us, right? So go out there and really do that. Another thing too that I recommend. For example, like, I am part of like Refugee Congress. I think that when refugees tell their own stories and allowing refugees, specifically children, to be part of that narrative, it really helps. I'm part of Refugee Congress, which does that. And another amazing organization where I just recently became involved with is called Weave Tales. And it's an amazing organization that's teaching like people who are going through these stories on how to tell their stories, and how to get that media attention, because so much of our narrative is shaped by outside factors, when I feel like we should be supporting organizations that help us tell our own narrative, that help us go out there and really talk and communicate and have dialogues like this, right? I'm so grateful to again be invited here, and I am so appreciative of the work that you do. And lastly, I know, I'm sorry, I'm taking over the whole answer, but lastly, one thing that I really always recommend, guys, it sounds really crazy, but besides action, nothing else speaks louder than words, and most important, nothing else speaks louder than money, right? Like, there's amazing organizations like Yolanda's, who are helping children with representation, who are going out there and being the lawyers, who are going out there and helping. And if you really want to put your money where your mouth is, go help these organizations. Go donate. Go volunteer. Go be the person. If you can't donate or volunteer, go spread the message, right? Create your own little campaign and be a part of something that's for the change and for the good of others. Like I said, I represent nonprofits now, and my biggest love is waking up every morning knowing that I'm doing something good for the world, and it feels so good, y'all. So I invite everyone to do that. And for us, like, $1 a day is nothing, but when the whole community comes together, it literally makes a big difference, and that's it.
And then, Edwin, do you have anything to add, or any other ways that you think that the community, the people, the viewers can help unaccompanied children?
Definitely. I am a person that goes in the micro way in the community, schools. Many of these children went up in the school where you are a member of that school. Help them. Trust me, they will appreciate. I was that nerd who after school will go to a high school teacher and spend countless hours trying to learn this language. It's not perfect. I mean, I can say that I speak in a way that people understand me, but that time with those friends that I made there, they make a difference on me, and a perception that this country actually still loving and receiving people like us. And that makes a change, because those small actions build the greatest people of the tomorrow. And that's are the things that I stand. And if you're doing that, that's the greatest thing to do for me personally.
And so I want to thank all the viewers and Edwin and Jessi for being part of this Refugee Matters series. And please stay tuned for the other panels, the other lives that will be happening on Wednesday. And we encourage you as part of action to become involved, become a volunteer. If you're able to do so, donate. If you're not able to donate, then if you're able to reach out to your representative, and you can advocate. They also pay attention. They represent you. So please go ahead and continue to watch these lives and become involved with this organization as well. And because we all matter. Thank you so much, and have a good day, everyone. Thank you for coming.